Hi, it's Ros,
Alfred,
Steve.
back for another bout of Cromwellathon. I've actually forgotten which week it is. I'll put it in the title. And this was a short section because it was only about 50 pages, one chunky chapter. So we're going to try and make this a similarly
brief,
short video accordingly. Because we were thinking that a lot of the things that we like about Mantell, or that we might say about her sort of style of writing and so on, we've already said. So this chapter is a bit kind of like...
Yeah, it's just more of the same.
Business as usual?
Yeah, well, yes, to a certain extent, yes. I mean, it's putting things into place again, isn't it? Because from here on in, it's going to kick off big time.
Yeah. Which I presume is why Jason split it here, because we could have easily done another chapter, but I think that the next few kind of
run into each other more fluidly
and intensely, whereas this is more kind of like
it has a lot of sort of scheming, and it has some significant events, but there's a lot of...
Oh, Catherine dies, that's
exactly,
a big event, isn't it?
Yeah, there's lots of Tudor Christmas and snow on the roads and stuff as well. And...
Yeah. I mean, I have to say, I like the Tudor Christmas bits. The particularly the Rafe's daughter using Grace's angel wings, and that was
peacock wings.
Peacock wings, and that was all kind of quite touching and yeah. So, but that apart, so because we were going to make this quick, I said to these two people, I said, oh well, why don't we each pick a favourite scene or few lines or whatever to talk about, and what happened was that they both
picked the same one, because there's one really great line in the middle of this chapter.
So you both get to talk about it. Yeah.
Sure.
So it's Cromwell. One of Cromwell's meetings with Anne, and Anne obviously is not...
is mid-downfall.
Well, she's...
She doesn't think she is.
No, but...
She's full of he waited long enough for me, that's Henry, you know, and I've made it worth his while, so...
But she's dissatisfied with Cromwell, and there's various power dynamics going on there.
Yeah.
But, so it's the bit where they're meeting, and... she's quite sharp with him and tells him that people who are made can be unmade.
Yes.
And he says, yes, I agree, or sort of words to that effect. I entirely agree.
Yes. And, with kind of really good double meaning there.
Yeah.
It's like, you were made, Anne, and you can be unmade.
I imagine him saying that very, very mildly.
Very politely.
In a way that she doesn't realise that effectively she's being threatened.
Yes, yeah.
Which is what he does. He threatens people in plain sight, doesn't he?
Yes.
So they can't say later on that he didn't warn them.
Yeah, but very rarely in a kind of aggressive way. Yeah. There's one moment when he gets a little bit aggressive in this chapter, isn't there? I'm trying to... But it doesn't matter where. But what was interesting was that what prompted Anne into saying that was because she was trying to get him to get the Lady Mary, must call her Princess, to put her in a bad position, lose her reputation, and he says he basically refuses, and she's really surprised. You know, so he says no, she says what, and then he says, that is not my aim, and those are not my methods. Yeah. So, and that's when she gets really kind of annoyed with him. Yes.
I think it's interesting because, as we saw in the last episode, or the last bit that we read, he is holding several strands of possible futures in his hand, isn't he?
Yes.
And he's thinking, okay, so if the king were to die, who is going to be next on the throne? So, yes, it's
probably
much...
Mary. Yeah.
He doesn't want Anne to be, or the Boleyns to be on the throne. I think he's come to that conclusion. So he's thinking about who he can rally, who he can gain support with for Mary. In the interim, until he can find someone better, or get her married to someone who would be more. Yes, I would imagine that he sees her as married to a German Protestant prince.
Yeah, but I mean, that assumes that he has this sort of huge scheme, and is he to
I think
extent?
He's doing it one chunk at a time.
One chunk at a time, and trying to maintain his own survival as well. Yeah.
Well, I do get the impression, or the way that Mantell has painted him, is that he has got a religious mission as well.
Yes.
That's very strongly part of it.
There's a bit about his fellow reformists getting angry with him for not saving Tydale.
Tyndale, yes. So he's being pulled in all these different directions. Yeah. So and that's very, very strong in this bit. There was some nice, where but thinking about what you said, like the woman that wants to go and visit Catherine, and he can't
let her in formally,
but he tells her,
oh, if you were to slip and fall outside the walls, he'd have to let you in.
yes, because no gentleman could leave a lady lying in a snowy ditch outside his castle. So you're right, he's keeping friends in different places as far as he can, and that's a delicate juggling act. And he's very much trying to be everything for Henry. I love the bit about when Henry was asking, did you speak Turkish?
No, but I might find you someone who can.
He wants him to sort of like fill everything for him. There was two other things that, because I couldn't pick the bit that you did, there were two bits that stuck in my mind when I looked back or thought back over the chapter. And one was relationship. Every now and again we get a bit about the relationship between Henry as king and the other places that power or authority sits in the country. So obviously there's the aristocracy, there's the church, and that's sort of maybe being undermined with Cromwell's help. Then there's Parliament, and that comes up at intervals, but also the law, and there's this great bit where we hear that Richard Rich is getting into a bit of a spat with Henry over Catherine's possessions, because Henry wants
to take all of them because it's my dead wife's stuff, so I should have it. It's like, oh, but she wasn't your wife, so it's not your stuff.
You said she wasn't your wife. You don't have any rights. Yeah, and that appealed to me. So so it's like Henry's authority is not
as absolute as he sometimes thinks.
Yeah. And the other thing that I found a kind of like an interesting or a touching moment was when he hears that just before she died, when she was talking to Chapuys, she was worrying about the about how to pulling other souls in her wake, because by being inflexible, she's precipitated all these events, and other people like Moore and various people have kind of almost been sacrificed on the altar of that she set up. Yeah, and that was the argument that Cromwell
had made to her.
Yes, and it kind of it's echoed back in her.
It's stuck in.
He got inside. Even with Catherine, he got inside her head.
Yes.
Yeah. So is that all we want to say about this bit?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, happy with that, and we'll see you next week when we get a meteor chunk.